All right, the party has started with Noah Ohlsen. How are you doing today, bro? You said you just got done training, and I want to know how's it. What'd you do? What'd you do today? What was your workout? What were your events?
I got about a fourth of the way done with training so far today. Took a quick little break to chat with you. Might refuel myself and then get back after it. This morning had some front squats and overhead squats, some strength work to kick things off.
So this morning, you say you're a fourth of the way in. So, I mean, over there, well, you're like midday, right? And so you start off a little bit later in the day and you've basically got in some strength work. And so what does it look like? So, okay, you got in some strength work. Now you're here with me. What's your next like kind of thing of the day?
Yeah, today is actually a little bit more of a low key day, not like a crazy amount of stuff. So, had some strength work in the morning, going back, have a little Metcon, and I said four because, yeah, it was strength, a Metcon, some running stuff like change of direction, sprint work, and then finishing off with a little bit of shoulder rehab stuff and some bodybuilding, which is the first time
Ooh.
I've ever had that in my programming. I specifically asked Max for a little bit of like look jacked programming, and he said he would give it to me 3 days a week.
I love it, dude. That's great. Well, hey, so for those of you who are just going to jump on, we're live with Noah Ohlsen. If you guys have any questions, make sure you put them in the comment section and we'll make sure to jump on them. But, dude, so I know you got a lot of training going on today. I wanted to ask you, what is, you just got off Wodapalooza, which was a really cool event. You and the boys
Yeah, man,
took,
we had a
took
blast.
the win. So, we were watching, I was on the Savon podcast and we were watching it and we were talking about, does he have any, desire to maybe go team at the CrossFit Games? And I think you said no, but I wanted to see how was the experience going team at Wodapalooza, and did that change your perspective at all? Because I know you've done, I mean, obviously a lot of us over the years like do little team stuff here and there, but that was a pretty big competition and you
Yeah.
guys won it. So did that change the way you felt about team at all?
Yeah, man, I absolutely loved that weekend in particular. And team in general, I think, is something that I do have a strong desire to do eventually. It's uh it's kind of a bummer that you have to pick and choose. I get that the season is designed to be one or the other, but I want to still win the CrossFit Games as an individual. Along with that, I want to have competed individually at the CrossFit Games for 10 years in a row. This is technically my ninth season. So two more at least, and then perhaps I'll be able to go team.
Oh man. Yeah, dude, you sent me that throwback picture of you and I from like, I don't even know what that was. Maybe 2000, what, 12,
That
13 or something like that?
that would have been
14?
13, I
Yeah.
believe. 13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, well, dude, coming up on 9, 10 years. And then so you're totally open to switching to team. So how was it? Travis, Chandler, you guys had a
Absolutely.
stacked team, but there was a lot of other stacked teams at Wodapalooza. So I mean, anything kind of throw you for a loop, anything a little bit different than what you were expecting there?
Um, the dynamic in general was awesome between the three of us. We're already good friends, so it was just kind of like another bonding experience and opportunity for us. And I was talking to my coach Max about it this week, and he said we were talking about how positive of an experience it was, and he said, of course, it was easy for it to be that because you guys were dominating. Like when you're winning, it's easy to have fun, which is definitely true. Like if we were in 10th place and not doing so well, maybe we wouldn't have had such fond memories of the event. But in general, yeah, we had a blast all together. And Chandler probably has the most team experience out of the
Yep.
three of us. And he was saying that oftentimes when a team picks up the worm for the first time, especially, or does a set of synchro pull-ups, there's a lot of this like discrepancy and things that you have to figure out, and it kind of takes time. And I'm not kidding. I'm not just saying this. Obviously, I don't need to like build any false confidence because the event is already over. But from the first time that we picked up the worm, every time we did it, super in sync, super easy. Like we would drop the worm, and the first time Chandler looked at both Travis and I like he was shocked, and he was like, "That never happens. It's usually way, way more off than that." So it was cool that we were able to pick up on that very quickly, and I think that allowed us to be able to just use our fitness and go full steam ahead.
Dude, yeah, I was watching your guys' event with the worm, and so I've had some experience with the worm, and you're 100% right. If you have a team and one person is off, it becomes like this wave effect, and you're
Yeah,
totally screwed. Like you're, and but
we
you
saw a
guys,
couple of people get like tackled by the worm almost.
Yeah, because all the momentum pushes back. So that's cool. And then
Yeah.
you guys didn't get on that object until right before the event.
No, and I don't think anybody had ever used it in the way that they had it at Wodapalooza. It was actually a 4-person worm, so it was the length of a normal worm, but made for 3 people. So they put these like crumpled up newspaper filler sections in there, so the weight was even more distributed in a strange, unfamiliar way to those guys that have done team before.
Huh. So now are Chandler or are either one of them thinking about going team this year, or are they both going individual?
I spoke to Chandler a little bit about it after the event because he has a little bit more flexibility in terms of being able to move and live somewhere. I have been trying for years to recruit Chandler to live in Miami and train with me. But he very, very seriously said he would consider it in the next couple of years if we were to try to put together like a games winning team, that he might move to Miami and we could do that together.
Dude, I love that. I
Yeah.
wanted to switch gears and by the way, again, for those of you joining live, this is a new thing that we're doing. And if you have any questions, just put them in the comment box. But I wanted to ask you, so
Can
I've
you,
been messing
real
around.
quick, Jake, can you see the comment section? From where
Yeah.
I'm looking at it, I don't see those. So if you see anything awesome
Yeah. So
launching
for
right at
example,
us.
Andrea
Oh, I
says
just saw
hi
that.
from
Hi
Italy.
from Italy. Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, now
So
it's happening.
we'll keep them going. But I wanted to ask you, I've been playing with my diet a lot lately. And for the last 20 plus days, I've been only eating meat with a little bit of fruit. And
Huh.
I found that my energy is pretty consistent. I'm feeling good. Now, I don't train at the volume that you train, but I'm wondering from a nutrition diet perspective, have you played with anything? And because right now your season's about to not ramp up. That's not the right way to look at it because, well, maybe, yeah, actually ramp up. But
Officially begin,
yeah,
essentially.
officially begin. So, what is your nutrition like right now? And have you played around with like pre-workout, not like supplements? I'm not talking about that, but like what do you eat before you actually go in and train? And then do you actually eat something different from a heavy lift to a metcon? I was just curious.
Yeah. So yeah, I've always wanted to, over the last decade, experiment with different types of diets. Like I've wanted to try a week juice cleanse just because I'm curious how it would make me feel and what it would do for my body. But I've always been afraid to do that in the middle of our season. And I guess I could have probably taken windows of opportunity like post games until the Open started to mess with that stuff. But I haven't done much experimentation. I would say traditionally my diet looks like generally healthy foods. My carb source is coming from your standard like rice, potato, sweet potato, whatever. I'm eating some sort of lean protein, as many vegetables as I can. But then there's definitely stuff that I use to supplement in between to get like extra carbs and calories in there. But yeah, I don't mess with my like post workout nutrition
Yeah.
too much. I know you're supposed to be fueled with a lot of carbs kind of around that window. I traditionally or typically have like a very big breakfast. I'll try to do that. I take my time in the morning. I'll eat like 150 to 200 grams of carbs for breakfast. And then I don't eat a lot throughout the day. I could go all day without eating and not even really notice. I'll have friends that come train with me and they're like, dude, we haven't had lunch or snack or anything. I'm starving. And I'm like, huh, I didn't even realize that. But
Yeah.
I'll big breakfast, big dinner, and then kind of snack and supplement in between is how I usually do it.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, I just put up a banner. Ask your questions in the comments for either one of us. We'd love to dive into it. Now, so no,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously nutrition. Yeah, it was interesting because I've been wearing like this glucose monitor. And so I've been playing around with
Oh,
what
cool.
happens to my glucose when I exercise. And so I've been playing around with like eating a spoonful of honey before I work out. In
Huh.
particular for jujitsu, it's been in particular for jiu-jitsu, it's been unique because I've seen my blood glucose spike so much. So I'll keep you posted on how that works. I don't have
Yeah.
any definitive answers right now. I'm just
Is
playing with
that the
stuff.
thing where you like put a little patch in your arm? Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
curious about that. I've seen that
Yeah,
popping up a lot
I
lately.
actually put it on my stomach because my
Okay.
arm, instead of getting hit like in jiu-jitsu, the stomach's a
Yeah.
little bit easier location.
Cool.
But I was just wondering, like from a nutrition perspective, you ever played with that? Because it's been something I've been thinking about that I had never really spent much time on when I was training for the games. But I was just
Yeah.
wondering if there's something like, so you're head to the games, you have an event at 12 o'clock. Where is the window that you stop eating? Is it like 30 minutes before, an hour before? Is it right before? What does that normally happen?
I kind of try to do the same thing at the games that I'll do on a day-to-day basis, where I do try to have as big of a breakfast as I can, because I know during the games we're going to be super busy and you never know when an event's going to pop up or how much time you'll have to warm up. So I'll try to get in as many calories as I can at the beginning and end of the day. And then during the day, yeah, I mean, like pre-events, you'll see, actually, it's probably surprising, and I almost feel ashamed saying this, but you'll see a ton of people in the back eating candy and applesauce and like just things that are like very, very quick, simple sugars right
Yeah.
before the event, so that when you go out there, you've got that fuel in your system.
Yeah, 100%. That's something I've been like the glycogen storage has been something I've been interested in about
Yeah.
replenishing it through those different types of carbs. I wanted to kind of switch gears a little bit because there was something that came up. I was watching the Wodapalooza event and I was talking to Savon about this. And you guys went out for a swim, if I'm not mistaken. I think I don't know which team was out in front. Oh, it was the Australian team, and
Okay.
the Australian team was out in front. Again, I'm not 100% correct, but I'm pretty sure it was them. And they ended up going a little bit of a different route than you guys did. And one of the things I was noticing as I was watching this event is that being a judge or a volunteer or an athlete, it becomes difficult because every event every year is always different. And so if
Yeah.
you're a volunteer, right, and you're a judge and they're having you do, I don't know, like the pig flip thing, but it's never been done before. Since someone does it a little bit differently, and then all of a sudden they need to change the rules. And so I'm wondering if in the future, do you see the sport of fitness ever getting to a point where there's like a set certain number of events that maybe the organizers choose from? So that this way it's not always reinventing the wheel on the movements and the rules. I was just
Yeah.
curious your thoughts there because I'm sure you've seen it before. I know I have too. Is that it's hard because sometimes the organizers don't know what's going to happen until it happens. But had
Right.
that event occurred in years past, they might have known.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. I think in general, consistency in our sport has kind of lacked across the board in the last few years, right? Like every season, it seems like something's changing. So consistency in any regard, whether it's event by event or just in like season structure, would be awesome. I've thought in the past, people have talked about CrossFit being in the Olympics, right? And I feel
Yeah.
like if that were ever to be a possibility, there would need to be, like you said, some sort of definitive structure, where my vision is just as a off the dome example, like you set that it's going to be a 3 or 4 day competition, right? Every year it's going to be that. Say it's 4 days. Every year it's a 4 day competition. And you know that every year on day one, there are going to be 3 events. And one is going to be a strength based event, one is going to be an endurance event, one is a mixed modal event. And then on day two, it's a similar, so that even within that structure, you can still play with the movements, the rep schemes, the weights and stuff. But at
Yep.
least from a fan and athlete perspective, there's something that they can look forward to, expect, train for, be prepared for. I think that would be cool, because there's still some element of unknown and unknowable, but also gives everybody a little bit of consistency to know what to look out for.
Yeah, I think I think we're the sport is still really young, and I'm curious how it'll continue to evolve.
Yeah.
I think that's a way of looking at it. By the way, for those of you who are on watching us live, really appreciate your guys' comments. Make sure to keep hitting us up with those. I'm going to go ahead and show Kevin. Kevin asks,
What up,
Jason,
Kevin?
yeah, what do you miss most about competing? For me, what I miss most, I missed the feeling of achievement that like when you stand on the podium or when you finish an event, that moment of like euphoria that you put in all this hard work and it came to fruition, like the way Noah probably felt with Wodapalooza, for example. I miss those moments. I also miss the training moments that he's probably having right now, where you're with a group of people that are a shared interest, shared vision, and whether you're individual or on a team, you feel like you're building towards something. So I miss that, and I miss the moments where you really put it all out there, you got uncomfortable, and you achieved your goal. What do I not miss? Well, there's a lot of things I don't miss about it, but those are the moments that I'll remember forever. Like, um, you know, that's what I miss. So
Can I
I mean,
ask you,
you're in the
Jason,
middle of it, yeah.
in that same regard though, for you, it's interesting because I'll be in your shoes eventually, having retired from the competitive aspect of CrossFit. Those positive moments of accomplishment and standing on the podium or post event, like that euphoria feeling, would you say that, because those don't always happen, right? It'd be nice if that was
No,
how every event ended, but that's not the case. Do those positive memories for you overshadow, and that's like immediately where your mind goes to the more so than the negative ones where you maybe didn't perform well or you blew up or whatever that may be.
Yeah, it's funny. Here I am a couple of years out from being retired from the sport, and I almost think about it similar to like life. Like when you look back on like your life's memories, you remember like moments of like euphoria, like big moments in your life, like
Yeah.
something really beautiful happened. You got engaged, you got married, whatever. And you remember a lot of the positives about it, but a lot of the negatives, right? You have a tendency to like kind of leave behind and forget. That same
Mm-hmm.
thing I think happened with me with my training. So like for me at the games, I remember a lot of the positives, and I have a tendency to leave behind some of the negatives. Like for example, my wife and I used to have a lot of, I don't want to use the word conflict, but challenges, because we're trying to balance family, business,
Yeah.
and competing. But I don't remember those moments of like struggle. I only remember what it felt like being back on the podium in 13 and 14 and being there with my kids. So as you get further away, I have a tendency to remember a lot more of the positive things and kind of leave behind some of the negative things. That's been my experience.
Yeah, no, that's good to know. And it's funny as well. I'm sure you've had this experience when those negative memories do pop up, and they can be so powerful in the moment that you almost think that you'll never forget them. For me, like in 2020, when we had the quarantine games at the ranch,
Yeah.
that final event at Atlanta, when I was out on the run, I was in the lead of that event. And if I had won that event, I would have gotten onto the podium in third place. And I just like my body fully shut down on me on like the last 800 meters of the run. And Matt ended up passing me. And I like for a few weeks could not fall asleep because I was just reliving that and thinking like, what could I have just made myself grit through it and run a little faster? Like, what could I have done to just have finished that run and won that event and got on the podium? Like, how my life is never going to be the same and blah, blah, blah. Like, I was literally losing sleep over it. And
Yeah.
now I don't think about it ever again. Like, I'm sure every now and then it'll pop up, but it's not something that dominates my mind.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, the positive moments definitely have stuck with me, and the moments where like you feel like you're a part of a group that was going through shared suffering. So
Mm,
like there was a few moments on a bus. And I'm sure you've had these too,
yeah.
where like we were going as a group to this unforeseen location, and we were about to go do some like really difficult things, but you're sharing that moment in a bus, where the tension you could like cut with a knife. Those are moments that I also remember a lot of,
Yeah.
because at that moment, like you had to come together and say, "Hey, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to do this." And I don't know, reflect on it. That's cool, man. It's like
Yeah,
getting
for sure.
comfortable with the uncomfortable. Um,
Speaking
yeah,
of moments with people and having done team, if I remember correctly, you guys were all set to do team 1 year, and then something happened where you like the what was that situation back in the day? Because you didn't end up competing at the games as, on a team, did
we,
you?
yeah, we did. So what happened is
You did.
in 2015, we went team with, and our NorCal team like smashed. I mean,
Oh,
bro,
I
we
remember.
we won regionals by a landslide. It was great. And then we get to the
Miranda
games.
got hurt, right?
That's right. And
Yeah, yeah,
we're
yeah,
we're doing super, super well all weekend. And then basically the final day, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe Saturday night or something of that nature, Miranda got hurt, and
yeah.
we ended up taking 10th. But I think we would have done a lot better had that not have
Even
happened.
like
But
missing one teammate, it's pretty crazy. Yeah,
yeah, but looking back on it, like it's easy to look at some things in life at the moment, and all I cared about was winning at that moment. All I cared about
yeah,
was winning. And
yeah,
there were some things that I did and some things in my mind that, looking back on it, it just was like, dude, we had someone tear their ACL. Like that was a major injury. Like it was what it was. But at the moment, I just want to be like,
yeah.
no, we can keep competing. We can keep doing it, because you're so
Yeah,
caught up in winning. That
I could
definitely
see that.
transformed some things for me moving forward. And then
Hmm.
shortly after that, Ava got sick. So it was kind of all, you know, I don't know if it was meant to be, but all of us kind of ended up pivoting and doing different things after that.
Yeah, I just saw on your Instagram, I think yesterday, Ava has like one more treatment and then she's completely cancer free.
Yeah, so one more year.
That's
So what it is,
amazing, dude.
good,
Oh,
yeah,
year. Okay.
yeah. So it's like it's funny how this works. We have Ava's Kitchen, which is a major fundraiser that my wife really champions. It's this weekend
Yeah,
coming up, big
it's
weekend for
awesome.
us.
Let's go,
And
Ashley.
yeah, and Ava is almost 4 years um out of out of treatment. It'll be 4 years in March, so next month. And after 5 years, they consider you cured. So, but it's kind of like putting money in the bank. You know the way this goes, right? You put in $1 and then over time it compounds. It's the same idea.
Yeah.
Every month that we get away from her treatment, the more she is
Awesome.
unlikely to relapse. So yeah, man,
Cool. So happy
it's
to hear
all
that.
good in that sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Switching gears a little bit, Carlos is asking, in a more consistent competition environment, how would you want or expect to see new movements included? So this is an interesting question, Carlos. Thank you for asking it. What do you think about that, Noah? I mean, do we even need to see new movements or
Yeah.
no?
Yeah, and I mean, if Carlos is asking it in a way that when they introduce a new movement or a new piece of equipment, sometimes, like in the case of the pig, I think the first year that they ever brought it out, they didn't let any of the athletes touch it or get exposure to it
Yeah.
until the competition started. And I know some people thought that was awesome because you have to adapt on the fly. Some people disagreed with that because then it made people look silly because they couldn't figure it out. So I don't know. I don't have like a super solid opinion on that. I think as an athlete, I usually have the desire when something gets announced. I'm like, man, how can I figure out a way to get my hands on that or replicate that so I can practice it as much as I can before the competition happens. But I have to say, I think it is kind of cool to be able to throw something at us and see how quickly we can adapt. Because sometimes that can be really impressive to figure it out on the fly like that.
Yeah, I mean, Carlos, I see this question going a few ways. One way is I think it's great to see the athletes adapt on the fly. For example, I competed at the Rogue Invitational a couple years ago, and we had to climb ropes with a ruck on. I hadn't
Yeah,
really done that. I'd done versions of it, but I hadn't done it with the backpack on. And it definitely switched it up. Like you couldn't lean back as far because otherwise the backpack would just take you
I
over, right?
remember that. Yeah, that's
Right?
crazy.
You had to be more vertical, right? And so that was cool. But I also think this idea is like as the sport of CrossFit evolves, I think it's really important to make it spectator friendly and for the spectators to feel like they're kind of like bought in, they can kind of see what's going on and to put the athletes in the best position to thrive. Because when
Yeah,
they're thriving, the sport grows. And when they feel like a fish out of water, maybe they're not thriving as much. So I think there's a double edge to this. One is testing for fitness. The other is where is the sport going to be 5 years from now? Are we constantly going to be trying to create new movements? Or are we going to say, hey, this is the movement bank and
right.
let's go watch these athletes, you know, like how cool would it be to be able to set world records at events that are sanctioned
Yeah.
and be able to compare to people from 10 years ago? I think that would be fun.
Yeah. I like that idea. And I could see both sides of it. Like if you had this pool of movements and that was it, they're never going to introduce another new one. People could maybe eventually be like, all right, this is kind of boring. Like I've seen everybody do that a handful of times. I get it. And then there is the side of things where it's like you could really go all in on that and actually see some people push the limits of what's possible if they're able to use the same stuff over and over. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is, but whatever it is, as long as I'm still doing it, I'm going to play by the rules and do the best that I can with it.
That's right. That's right. And Carlos, you're bringing up another question, more so the freestanding handstand push-ups, things like that. I think that allowing athletes to have exposure to them ahead of time, I think is good so that they look like when they actually get on TV, when they're actually out there
Yeah.
performing, you want these guys to look like gladiators and gladiator, you know, you want them to look
The male
great.
version.
The
Yeah.
female, male, you want them to look excellent. And so I think that's just something that CrossFit as a professional sport is going to have to think about moving forward
Yeah.
and finding that balance. Hey, by the way, Milo says, "What's up, lads?" From
From
New
New
Zealand. Thanks for tuning.
Zealand. A
Hell yeah.
Kiwi. What's up,
Yeah.
bud?
Hey, Reed, excuse me, has a question. Hi from New Zealand. How much running do you put in your training? I used to be an endurance runner and now do CrossFit. I could hardly run now. You were talking about hitting some endurance later on. How many, what does your running look like?
Yeah, I, similar to you, work with, or similar to what you used to do. I'm not sure what your relationship is with him now, but Chris Hinshaw has been doing some of my endurance stuff recently. And he had me on a plan where I was running twice a week in a different format. One was kind of like your traditional track session where you're going out and doing intervals, a little bit more high intensity, short duration. And then another day later in the week was kind of long, slow, easy, just building that volume tolerance and distance. Was that similar to what yours looked like back in the day?
Yeah, same similar idea. I'm so happy you're working with him, man. He's the best.
Yeah, he's awesome, huh?
Yeah, I love training with him, and he made training fun, which was really a big change for me.
Yeah.
Speaking of training, that's fun. I got another question for you. So, there was this thing on Morning Chalk about athletes not getting paid for T-shirts, which whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but
I'm
what I'm
neutral
curious,
also.
what's that?
I said I'm neutral on that as
Yeah,
well. Like no
right.
strong opinion either way.
But I think it brings up a bigger question. Yes, okay. Should athletes get paid for T-shirts, their names on at the games? Sure, but it's going to be a fraction. It's not going to be like we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars here. Maybe you're talking
Right.
about a few $1,000s if it's a percent of sales of their T-shirts. So my question would be, how does the sport continue to evolve as pro athletes? You're sponsored by Gymshark. You have several other sponsorships. Chandler signed a cool deal with Puma, which I thought was really cool. They did a donation. I thought
Hmm.
that was really interesting.
Yeah, I love that too.
Yeah, but I'm wondering, your Gymshark deal, your other deals, obviously they're providing for you, but you've also been at the top of the sport for a very long time. How do you think it's going to bridge this gap? Like, how are the new guys going to come in and be able to make any money? Because you're saying you're training 4 times today, right? You probably spend probably 6 hours a day, I imagine, either training or thinking about training or your whatever, like your recovery.
Yeah,
How do
right.
people balance that and work and then eventually become good enough to become a pro in CrossFit? What's going to happen in the future as a pro CrossFitter?
That's a good question, and I wish I knew the answer. I think if we knew the answer, hopefully we'd be implementing it and people would be making a lot more money. But honestly, to be transparent, I would say a majority of the money that I make as a CrossFit athlete does come from my partnerships, from my sponsors, thankfully. Because competitively, it all comes down to your performance. And I've had some years that I've performed very well. The year that I took second at the games, I think it was maybe 50-50 between the money that I made from the games and what I made from sponsorships. Even then, I don't really think it was. It was still more sponsorship than it was competition prize money. So CrossFit as an organization, I don't know what it is that they could do to be providing more for the athletes. I know that it's a big topic of conversation now, like maybe providing money for travel and not having the entry fee into competitions just to take that burden away from the athletes and help them make more money. And I honestly, I hope that come up with ways to make it happen. The ecosystem, obviously, CrossFit created the sport that brought in the brands that are providing for the athletes, but for some more money to be coming directly from CrossFit, I think would be huge and make us as athletes feel like the sport's a little bit more professional.
Yeah. I don't know if more money is going to come from CrossFit to the athletes because I don't know if it's actually been a profitable endeavor yet. Up
Yeah.
until when it was sold, I know the games was probably a loss on most years, I would imagine, but
Mm.
it's also a great marketing tool. So I don't know if CrossFit's going to come in and try and pay the athletes more. I don't know.
Yeah.
But hopefully, my bigger goal for CrossFit would be get more people involved from a spectator perspective, because the more people that are involved from a spectator perspective, the more interest there are from brands, and the more
Yeah. Just
interest there are
grow the
from brands,
sport.
the more money there becomes for the athletes. But
Right.
I'm really curious what's going to happen. I think like, you know, you got Monster coming in. I think it's great. Like, look, get the athletes paid. People can feel what they want about Monster and they could drink it if they want or not. But ultimately, we want to be able to see these athletes be able to survive so they can go out there and go perform and put on a show for us as spectators. That's
Yeah.
my position on it.
The
Yeah.
monster thing is interesting too. There's obviously been a lot of feedback this past week.
Yeah.
And I just want to share that for most people, honestly, the monster thing was not just a money play for myself and a lot of the other athletes. I know that is definitely a big benefit for the sport of CrossFit to have a $1 billion brand like Monster come in and be involved. So for sure, that is a beneficial aspect. But the conversations with the people that work with the Monster team that we've had are formulated around developing a product that makes more sense for our community, right? So they're not
Uh,
necessarily just saying, hey, we're a huge brand, we're just going to come in, you have to drink our drinks, and that's what it is. Like they're definitely open to us coming up with something that has maybe fewer ingredients and maybe a little bit less caffeine or whatever it may be that suits the training of CrossFit athletes. So I think that will be something that hopefully gets people's buy-in a little bit more down the road.
yeah, man. I think that, I used to come up in the action sports world. So I used to, race BMX and whatnot. And Monster became big
Nice.
there. And same with like Red Bull and stuff. But what I saw was that they created an ecosystem. They created opportunities for the athletes. They brought more brands. They brought more notoriety.
Totally.
It's good for the overall ecosystem, and people could
Yeah.
choose what they want to drink or not drink. And if they don't want it with the caffeine, the other whatever, then great. Maybe you'll come out with something in the future, or maybe you could drink their water. But I don't know. I think immediately like shunning it. I think
Yeah.
let's see what happens with it. I think ultimately I just want to watch the athletes like you and the sport continue to grow. And you're gonna get some sponsors that come in that maybe don't align perfectly. Hell, when I won the CrossFit Games, one of the major sponsors was Panda Express. Dude, it came,
I saw that recently. Yeah.
it came in for a little bit and it left.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Hey, shout out to Antonio. Hello from Ecuador. How important do you think it is coaching for elite? How important do you think is coaching for elite athletes? What do you think about that, Noah? I mean, how involved is your coach today compare aside from like programming and whatnot, actual
Yeah.
like movement and things of that nature?
What's up, Antonio? Thank you for that question. I think that at the stage of being a competitive athlete that I am in, the one-on-one coaching is probably not as important. I think the first couple years of learning all the movements, that was when I needed the eyes on me to figure out all the ways to be in better positions and move more efficiently. Now that I've got most of that stuff dialed in, I think the benefit that I get from my coach is the programming, is the accountability, is the mindset stuff. So even like on a competition weekend, like at the games, I personally am like a very hands-off athlete. I know some people are very dependent on their coaches, but I'll check in with him at the beginning of the day. He's like chat over a plan for the day and whatever the events are. He's like, "You good?" I'm like, "I'm good. I'll see you after," and kind of do my thing. But I do think that if you are wanting to be a competitive athlete in the sport of CrossFit, I think it's beneficial and important to be able to get some coaching up front to do all those things that I said, like make sure you're moving the right way, make sure you've got a plan and structure of training that makes sense. I think you can get great by just like taking classes and making up your own workouts with your friends. You're still going to get fit by doing that. But if you want to be super competitive, I think you need somebody that can figure out what exactly you need to be the best that you can.
For sure, for sure. No, I thank you for that question, and welcome from Ecuador. If anybody else has any more questions, please jump them in. I wanted to, kind of switch gears briefly. Um, uh, I, Catrion, someone asked, where'd you get the information on what foods you should or shouldn't eat on the carnivore diet? I basically just looked up. I was going off this animal based. If you do this, I could actually share my screen here in a second. But long story short,
Cool.
for me, what I found was that I was looking for a diet to remove some inflammatory components of maybe like what my diet was. You know, I'm sharing my screen right now. So if you just
Cool.
Google animal-based diet and toxicity, basically what I did was I looked up in here, do grass-fed meat, grass-fed organs, et cetera, and less toxic plant foods like fruit, squash, and honey. So that's what I've been personally going off of. And I've been avoiding basically all the nightshades, all the legumes, things of that nature with the intention of just trying to meat, some fruit. And the theory is from an evolutionary perspective. And again, this is just something I'm trying is
Yeah.
that, leafy greens, nightshades, they're essentially their mechanism to not get eaten, I imagine, because animals can pick up and run and fruit wants to actually be eaten and then disperse. They maybe had small amounts of inflammatory components in their leaves, etc., for these animals to then not desire them as much. And so what I'm trying is removing gluten, removing dairy, removing any food that might have a slight inflammatory response and seeing how I feel. So far, like I said, I'm 22 days in, Triona Mills, and I'm feeling really good. That all being said, I'm going for another 18 days, and I don't see myself doing this indefinitely. I want to get back to my muffins that my daughter makes. I want to get back into, not going out to a restaurant and feeling like I have to, just eat meat. I want to have a variety, but for the time being, I feel really good, and it's grown my awareness of how I feel. So Thought
Jay,
I'd
was
share that.
there something in particular that sparked your desire to try that? Like, I know you said you wanted to remove inflammation. Was it just that in general, or anything that like flipped the switch for you?
Yeah, so it was two things. One, it was when I walked down the stairs of my house, I was finding that my knees were always in pain. I had to
Huh.
walk sideways. And so
Oh wow.
my kind of like gauge for is this working was that now I could walk down straight. I'm also doing additional like quad smashing and stuff like that. But so I'm feeling like my joints feel better, but it was also my gut health. So from a gut health perspective, like I used to have to like incorporate all types of like wheat cereals and things like that to feel, good. I don't have to
Yeah.
worry about that anymore after 22 days. So it's been good for me. I'll continue to
Interesting.
report back how that feels in another 18 days. I also got blood work the other day, Noah. Have you had your blood work taken recently?
Recently, no. And somebody else was just saying that they were pretty surprised by that. I've done it before, but not consistently, and it's something that I should maybe go get checked up on.
Dude, I'd be really curious what your blood work looks like. So I got mine done on Friday, and today's Monday. I'm excited to see what it looks like and report back to people like, hey, I've been on carnivore-ish for 20 days, and this is what it looks like. And if it looks like shit, I'll be
Yeah.
open about it, you know, and change some
Yeah. You're
things
not
up.
being paid. Right. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Thanks for sharing.
Hey, Walter says hi from Argentina. What's up, Walter?
Walter. Hola, amigo.
Hey, man. So, dude, tell me about what's on the agenda now, getting ready for the Open. Right now, we're basically Open's a couple weeks away. I'm not quite sure how many people are going to participate in it. I don't know, but for you, it's almost irrelevant whether it's 100,000 or 400,000. You know that the big hitters, the people that are going to be tough for you to, I'm not saying to qualify. I'm saying just like you want to put up a good placing. They're all going to
Yeah.
be there, right? All the normal
Yeah.
people, you know, Justin Medeiros, the Cole State, whoever. So, what is your mindset right now going into the Open?
Yeah, man, that's evolved over the years where I used to want to just win everything, right? You step into a competition and you want to just dominate, and it's a good feeling.
Win, win,
Um,
win, win. Yeah,
exactly. Yep, that was the theme song. And I feel like I got a handful of wins. I won the Open once, and that was super cool. But then, honestly, the thing that flipped the switch for me was that year that I won the Open, I think was my lowest performance at the CrossFit Games. And I had to reflect back and think, do I care about winning the Open or do I care about winning the CrossFit Games? And I care much more about the games because that's kind of the ultimate final test. That's the Super Bowl for us. And that's what everybody remembers. That's what goes down in the history books. And so I had to shift my mindset away from that and try to treat the Open as a qualifying process only. I'm going to put my best effort into each workout, but I'm not necessarily killing myself to win the Open. I just want to be able to qualify, take some notes, learn from any mistakes that are what the ultimate goal is at this point.
nice. And then so this year, correct me if I'm wrong from the game season. I apologize. I mean, it's just changed so much. But you have
Yeah,
the
no,
Open. You have like
I might not even know the answer.
yeah. Do you have an Open, quarter, semi, and then the finals? Is that the way it works?
Yeah. So as of this year, I actually just saw Justin Berg down at Wodapalooza. He's taken over and is the general manager or director of the games, I think is his title now.
Yeah.
Um, said that this year they're keeping everything to be able to give athletes at least 2 years right now before they implement any major change. So it will be Open and then quarterfinals, which can both be done kind of at your gym. And then semifinals will be kind of what regionals used to be, like the in-person qualified event for the games. And then the games will be as they've always been in the summer in person. I think this is the last year in Madison.
Yep. Last year, Madison.
So
Your phone was breaking up a little bit, but I caught the gist.
I'm sorry about
Yeah.
that.
No, it's good.
Okay.
You got the quarter, you got the semi, you got the last year in Madison. I don't know where it's going to go after this. Uh,
Yeah.
Tom Tomer, I hope I'm saying that right. Says, do you have any plans to visit Israel? The CrossFit community here is amazing. I know for a fact the community there is amazing. Do you have
Have
any
you been?
plans? I haven't been there, but I've gotten reached out to, and we have some gyms that utilize our programs there that are like the salt of the
Very
earth.
cool.
They're amazing. They're great people. What do you have any plans to go to Israel at all?
Yeah, man, I would love to. We actually have some friends that go to our gym here that are from Israel. And one of my sponsors, the guy that runs the WODproof app, his name is Adam Grinker. He lives in Israel. He's from there. And he, like you said, salt of the earth, one of the best people that I know. So sweet. So at some point, yes, I would love to make it over to Israel, but it hasn't happened yet. So fingers crossed.
Dude, I love the international approach on this podcast we're having right now. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I
man.
think, dude, I'm fired up for the games. I'm fired up for the Open. I'm really looking forward to watching you go out there and kind of leaving it all on line, right? And working towards that 10 year.
I
But you're
appreciate
not
that.
just an athlete, right? I like to look at you as an entrepreneurial. You have these great sponsorships. You got your family. What else is going on in your life right now that are major focuses or priorities aside from just getting ready for the Open? I mean, I know you're probably tunnel vision, want to make sure you perform well, but there's got to be other things that you kind of spend your time. What are other things that you're kind of into lately that maybe people don't know about, like cryptocurrency? Are you into that or other stuff? I'm just kidding about
Yeah.
crypto.
Yeah. Well, I got a little bit, got like
Dabble.
point 0.8 of a Bitcoin in there. Um,
Woo!
but yeah, man, I appreciate saying that. I definitely do want to be looked at as more than just an athlete. And it's tough to find that balance over the years, though, because I want to be focused on trying to win the games because I know that's going to give me my best chance at accomplishing that. But there also are these cool ideas and opportunities that I want to give myself to that at times I've had to put on the back burner or say, not yet. Um, so for the most part, my focus is on training for the games, being the best athlete in the world at that. But obviously, I have all these awesome partnerships with brands, some really cool projects coming up with some of them. And in addition, my own personal brand, the Happy But Hungry thing, that has kind of been on the back burner for the last couple of years. That definitely is going to be something that you see kind of revitalized, brought to the forefront a little bit more. Um, I've got some cool stuff coming that I hate to be that guy, but I'm technically not supposed to share about yet. But as much as I can find that balance between training full time, but also just having a more positive impact on the world,
Yeah.
inspiring people to live happier, healthier lives. I want to be able to invest in projects like that and share with everybody.
Dude, I can't wait to see these projects come up. And, if you're ever out here in California, we got to make sure we get in a training session. I'm nowhere near Noah
Absolutely.
Ohlsen shape, but I can still
Dude,
lift a barbell or two.
it's crazy to hear you say that. That makes me laugh because you used to be like a superhero to me. And obviously you still are. But like you guys, man, as a kid watching Jason Khalipa, Rich Froning, Chris Bueller, Tommy Hackenbrook on YouTube, like it's nuts that we're now peers and having this conversation. It's cool the way that the world works sometimes.
Dude, well, we got to continue to have you on. We got to continue to have these live shows. I think it's a great way to engage, to hear from people.
Yeah,
As we're getting ready to kind of wrap up the show, if you guys had any additional questions, make sure you hit us up in the comments. Saw some other ones we'll definitely get to another time when you're on the show. I think like these. Essentially, where the podcast is starting to trend is having like repeat people on, so that we could actually talk
cool.
about something and then follow up on it like a month or two later.
Oh, I
I
like
think
that.
there's a lot of, because I get questions from people who said, "Oh, I heard from Noah that he's doing this." For example, you're talking about these cool things that are coming up. Well, a month or two from now, maybe some of those are coming to fruition, and we could talk
Right.
more about them. So, um, dude, I
I
really
love that.
appreciate your time. I know you got to get back out to training. For if people are interested in finding out more, about your brands, your training, where can they go find you at?
Yeah, I think Instagram is, as silly as that sounds, that's kind of the primary means of sharing anything these days. So I know your tag is down there in the corner. Mine is at Nohlsen. Most of my stuff that I'm doing is pretty current and active on there. I appreciate all the love and support and following. It's awesome.
Dude, I love it, man. Well, hey, I appreciate all you guys jumping in. I really appreciate you guys doing it, especially from all around the world. Hey, Julian says, hey,
Oh,
bets for
22.1.
2020, 22.1. What is the movement? What is your bet?
Dude, it's crazy that we're already on 22.1, right? It's kind of, I like that they have the numbers in front of it because you can see how far we've come. But I remember like 12.1 and 13.1. So it's been a long time.
Yeah, what
But
what what, what movement you think? I think we're gonna see burpees.
yeah. Isn't this the year that they said that they want to keep it like even more simple? I think I had a dream the other day, honestly, because I have this thought and I don't know where it came from. That the open was like bare bones basic air squats, push-ups, burpees, stuff like that. So I don't know. Maybe that's a dream that'll come true. We'll see.
Dude, I saw the workout list. I don't know. I doubt I'm gonna end up doing the open. I might just dabble in it. But I saw the
Yeah,
list of equipment. There is a list now, dude. It's so
yeah,
funny. The first, I think it was 2010. I might have been my first open announcement. It might have been the first open announcement. It was me and Chris Clever at the tennis stadium,
yeah. I
and
remember that.
dude, it's just so funny because we're there and it's like underneath the lights, and so Dave made us wait till super late, and so we start the workout and Dave's all dramatic, like, oh, he didn't tell us to work out. And
Classic Dave.
so Dave's my judge. And he's like, you know what? As he's judging me, he's like, we need some music. So he's on his phone and he just puts on like no speaker, no nothing.
Miscounts your reps.
Oh, dude, he's just like puts on Linkin Park or something and puts his phone down. Like it's gonna play music in the anyways. It's just that's
Yeah, that's awesome.
my memory was like that's when
That's
back
so
in the
cool.
day, and here we are 12 years later, 13 years later, and how it's evolved. I don't know what they're going to do this year, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I don't either. I might be one of the athletes doing one of the demos. We'll see. But you
Woo!
know,
All
just
right.
following your
Hey,
footsteps, big guy.
hey, man, keep making it happen. Keep crushing it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Noah, we really appreciate your time, your insight, and congratulations again on your Wodapalooza performance.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate y'all.